Vasel here, and this is in our series of the best of 2016, where we take a look back at 2016 and talk about our favorite games that came out over the past year. And in this list, I'm going to be talking about my favorite game expansions that came out. Now, I love expansions for games because I have a lot of games, but whenever I get a new game, if I'm going to keep it, I have to get rid of a game I already have. And I so hate doing that because I like the games that I have. So when I get an expansion, I don't have to get rid of one of these games. I'm just added to the game. And it's a game I already know how to play, and expansions make the game better. So for me, these lists are always hard to do because I play a lot of expansions over the course of a year, and I like a lot of them, and I had to cut a lot because I could only put 10 on my list. So let's get started. Number 10 is Smash Up Cease and Desist. Now, Smash Up has lots of factions. In fact, the newest expansion is going to bring the factions up to 50 different factions, where you're taking two different factions and mixing them together and playing against the other players. Lots of fun. But Cease and Desist is really cool because it adds 4 factions where they're parodies of very obvious things. Transformers, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, and Star Trek. They don't call them that. They don't call any of the cards what they're be. It's very parody-ish, but at the same time, it's very specific. You know what they are. That being said, though, not only is this like a parody set, but this is a good set of factions. Each of the factions, especially the Game of Thrones, which is a very sneaky backstabbing faction. I mean, go figure. This all fits together really well. It's one of my favorite expansion sets so far, Cease and Desist. Number 9 is Stockpile, Continuing Corruption. Stockpile is a great stock market game in which you have insider information and you are trying to, manipulate the stock market. The expansion adds some dice, which are not what you think. They basically just add some nice random elements that happen each round of the game. It also adds a few other things to the game, but it's a nice kind of plug-in pack that makes the game just that more interesting. It doesn't change the rules a lot, and in fact, it's one of those expansions that was so easy and so simple to add to the game that I will probably never play Stockpile without it. Number 8 is Flick 'em Up Red Rock Tomahawk. Now, I love Flick 'em Up. Flick 'em Up is a flicking cowboy western game in which it is cowboys versus outlaws. Well, this one adds the Native Americans to the mix, and they have some cool flicking things. A tomahawk that you flick, arrows that you put on, they're like little sticks and you shoot them off. I really like that addition to the game. The Native Americans have a very different feel to them than the cowboys and the outlaws, and it just brings that whole woohoo westerns from the 1950s to life. It's a really cool expansion. Flick 'em Up Red Rock Tomahawk. Number 7 is King of New York Power Up. Now, Power Up was an expansion that came out for King of Tokyo that gave power cards to each of the monsters. Well, King of New York was a sequel to King of Tokyo, but they didn't have this expansion. Now we do. All those monsters have power-up cards. But where this game really shone was the fact that each of the monsters came with a set of power-up cards that you could also use them in King of Tokyo, not just King of New York. So now, and honestly, we'll probably use them in King of Tokyo more. So now I have a ton of monsters that I can use in King of Tokyo. I love the fact that they gave 2 sets of power-up cards for both games to the monsters, and then they included another monster, a giant shark, for people who tend to like sharks a lot. Number 6 is Cash and Guns Team Spirit. Cash and Guns, you know that game where you're sitting around a table with a pile of loot and then you all point guns at each other? Silly fun. Cash and Guns Team Spirits splits you up onto teams, and now you work together. It also adds some more players and also adds some new kind of cool guns, a silencer, a big giant gun, a grappling gun. So there's just, the more funny, cool kind of guns you can use is cool. But the team thing really, to me, adds a level to this game that's really well done. As players are going to sit there and work with their teammate, and you got to kind of do it out loud so other people can hear you, but who are you going to point at? There's also mercenaries that you can take, which is a neat little expansion that only works with the team, but I think does it very well. This is almost a must-buy, I think, if you own Cash and Guns. Number 5 is Cavern of Solace. This is an expansion for Catacombs. This is the second flicking game expansion on the list. Catacombs is a game in which it's like a dungeon crawl. One person's a dungeon master, other people are going through and they're flicking discs around. Well, Cavern of Solace said, hey, do you not have enough content? Here's a ton more content. Really, it's a lot of extra stuff. That's really the only reason it's on my list. More monsters, more heroes, more stuff in general, more equipment, just really great things. That's Cavern of Solace for Catacombs. Number 4 is the second Summoners for Summoner Wars. Now, Summoner Wars is like a game that's built slowly, and they come out with different things. There's master sets and things. but they came out with a second summoner for all the factions except 8 of them. Well, the 8 factions that did not have second summoners got them this year. And wow, was it a great thing. Summoner Wars is now a complete finished game. Great. I love the game. There's a lot of cool summoners, but some of my favorites came out this year. The new Mercenary Summoner, who can take units from all the different armies, common units. I really enjoy that guy. And just some of the different characters in these just felt cool and refreshing and neat. And even though the game is done, it now feels complete. I don't need to worry about getting more. And this was a nice fitting conclusion to the game, Summoner Wars, the final second summoners. Number 3 is handle and intrigue for Orleans. Now, unfortunately, for people in America, this is not going to be available till later in 2017 completely, but it did come out in 2016 in Europe, and it is a great expansion for Orleans. It is basically more of the same in a sense, but there are 2 parts of it that are really useful. One is order cards, where you're going to pick up different goods from regions and then go to others and deliver them for double points. That I really like. And then the other is a new board where you're going to send people, but instead of giving you a few piddly coins, it gives you all kinds of cool things. Both of those things are going to be used in every Orleans game I ever play for the rest of my life. And if I teach new people, I'm teaching them with both of those. There is also an intrigue section to this expansion, which you could rip up and burn up. It's no good. It's just too interactive and mean for me. But I do like these. I think it's a great addition to the game. Number 2 is an expansion for Legendary. Marvel Legendary has a lot of expansions come out over the course of the year. They do not all make my top 10 list, and some I like better than others. Civil War is my favorite expansion probably to date. At least of the big, it's a big expansion. It's based on, the fact that Captain America and Iron Man are fighting each other all the time or whatever in Civil War. But this expansion introduced double cards, where you would get these cards with like 2 mini cards on. Magic the Gathering did this before, where when you play it, you can play it at either one of those cards, or in some cases, both sides of the cards. A really cool concept, but there's also a lot of fun characters. Some of the Legendary sets are getting very obscure, like, oh, we're going to play with this character that was only seen in one comic book in 1994. No, this is mainstream stuff, but it's also a lot of fun. That's the Civil War expansion for Marvel Legendary. And finally, number 1, easily, is Prophecy of Dragons for Time Stories. Now, Time Stories is a great game. It's in my top 10. Love it. And there are 4 modules for it so far. And the 3rd module, which came out this year, Prophecy of Dragons, was so much fun. And the thing that kind of annoys me the most about this is that I can't even tell you why I like it so much, because that's kind of a spoiler. However, you could go watch our videos of us playing it. We put them online. But I think I can say that I think the storyline was the best. I think that there was the most cool decisions in it. It just left me with this, wow, that's really neat aspect to it. I love it. Also, amazing artwork by Vincent Dutrait. But the whole thing, just a great package. My favorite expansion for Time Stories. So those are my top 10 expansions of 2016. What are yours? Tell me in the comments. Let me know. Tell me where I went wrong, or where you might agree with me. There's probably some expansions I haven't played yet that are also fantastic. But until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. Check out our other top 10 lists of 2016. Until next time, you've been watching The Dice Tower.